Palisade Radio is brought to you by First Majestic Silver Corp., one of the world's purest and fastest growing silver mining companies.
Welcome back to another episode of Palisade Radio. This is your host, Colin Cattell. On the line with us today is a new guest to the program. His name's Peter Zihlmann, and he's a fund manager at Timeless Funds based out of Malta. Peter, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
You know, we've done a lot of interviews based around uranium lately, and for any of our listeners that have heard too much of it, I apologize, but there's just a huge demand every time we talk about uranium, and that's despite the fact that there's a very small, very select amount of uranium companies to invest in. Now, Peter, you manage a few funds, but the one that maybe you're most interested in at this point in time is the Timeless Uranium Fund. Tell us a little bit about the Uranium Fund to start out.
Yeah, it's correct that we focus on the Uranium Fund because we like the story very much. And as you said before, there are not too many possibilities to invest in uranium stocks. There are maybe about 20 which we consider and which we have in the portfolio. We have spread our investments over the wide segment. We have big caps like Comeco. We also have stocks that invest directly in physical uranium. We have a few producers, the well-known name. We have also some of the senior explorer companies like NextGen and Fission, and then also some smaller companies. So actually we have the whole spectrum of the uranium space.
So essentially you've built a very nice proxy for investors who are interested in uranium to come in and get wide exposure to the space, even though it is a narrow space.
Absolutely, and it's somebody has production, development, and exploration, and he has a little bit of everything.
Well, why don't we talk about why uranium is so exciting to you at the time? A lot of our listeners have probably heard the case for the demand in uranium, the rising demand, and tell us a little bit about why uranium interests you so much.
Well, the fact is that the world is building new reactors. I mean, presently we have 66 reactors under construction, 24 in China, 8 in Russia, 6 in India, and South Korea, etc., etc. And we had just also learned that China has made an agreement, for example, with Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia plans to have 16 reactors operational in 2032. And for example, if you take just China as a driving force, China today has more or less 25 reactors operational, but they expect to have 10 times that number in about 15 years. So the demand is growing everywhere in the world. And the other side is that obviously we need clean energy, and nuclear is clean. And we know very well that a lot of people actually die from bad air and pollution, etc. So nuclear power is the future, and that's why we like it so much, because the demand for uranium keeps growing.
It seems that the fundamentals for uranium are all there, but to be fair, they were all there a year ago and 2 years ago. Of course, we had the Fukushima disaster, which really put a damper on the industry. But in terms of timing, do you have any sense of when things are going to turn around?
Well, it's difficult to forecast because, as you say, people have been very bullish for 2 years now, and the uranium price doesn't seem to go nowhere. Fukushima obviously had a huge impact, and that is still in the mind of people. But I think it will change. It can change any time. It can change tomorrow. It can change today, and I think the fact is that people one day will wake up and just see the price go up. The other side is obviously is the supply, which at today's prices remains limited because traditional mining needs a much higher uranium price. So the supply will also be limited, and the gap between demand and supply can only go wider, and the price has to go up. But it's extremely hard to tell when it will really happen. It should have happened long ago, but the markets are markets, and but it seems also that more and more people talk about uranium, and the fact is, as I said before, the whole world is constructing new reactors with the lead of China, Russia, and India.
Peter, uranium is a very unique commodity in that in terms of getting a new mine in construction, you usually have somewhere between a 7 to 10 or 11 year timeline, and that's due to the permitting associated, especially permitting of a mill. And at the same time, the price of uranium during 7 to 10 years of a shortage can go up. We've seen it happen back 2001 to 2007, where uranium rose from $7 or $8 to $140. If that happened with oil or coal, it would change. It would change in interest in using that source of fuel. But with uranium, the fuel cost associated in nuclear reactor is not that important. Can you touch on that a bit?
Well, it's minimal in a nuclear reactor. I mean, a nuclear reactor costs $7 billion, and running it is very cheap. So, and it's. I think the most important thing is actually on the other side the question of pollution. You know, if you continue burning oil and coal, you have a lot of pollution, and with a nuclear reactor you don't have that. That's why especially China has a big problem of pollution, and for them it's the only way forward, and the cost of the uranium is not really a factor for them. Or let's take the example of China. Of Japan. Japan had to import all the oil. That's why they set on nuclear power until Fukushima happened. But now they are going back because there is no alternative.
Well, I'm happy you brought up Japan, because that was going to be my next question. Obviously, Japan shutting down the reactors set off a bit of a chain reaction. Germany followed suit, at least for a short period after Fukushima. Japan's now restarted 2 of their reactors and then 2 more, but reports were that 2 of those were shut back down, and getting all these reactors online has been a slow process, and it may continue to be a slow process. How important is Japan in the big scheme of things in terms of the price of uranium?
Well, it's certainly very important. In the first place, when they shut down all their reactors, there was a lot of fear that all the uranium they had would come to the market. Now that they are actually restarting their reactors, that will not be the case, or very unlikely. And I would say within 2 or 3 years, at least half of the reactors in Japan will be online again. And so I think the Japanese factor, or the fear from Japan, will evaporate.
What would you say at this point, Peter, are the most important countries or aspects of the uranium price moving up? I guess China is the biggest of all at this point.
Yeah, actually, presently China has 24 nuclear reactors under construction. Russia has 8, India has 6. The next one is the United Arab Emirates with 4, the United States of America with 5, and then Korea 3, etc. So a total of 66 reactors are under construction, and many, many more are planned. In this list, we don't even have Saudi Arabia, which has signed contracts with the Chinese to build 16 reactors by 2032. And the other thing is also that a lot of countries, even like Switzerland, that has more or less decided to get out of nuclear energy. They are really rethinking, what they decided some years ago, and what they do actually. That's the 5 reactors which Switzerland has. Their capacity is actually being increased by about 13%, and so do other countries. Even the existing reactors, to them more capacity is added. So that the demand picture is so clear that, in my opinion, it's just a matter of time till the uranium price goes up. And with the uranium price, obviously, the companies that produce or explore will go up much more. And we have seen some wonderful examples of exploration company like NextGen, which is in our portfolio, which has gone up, more than 200% in 2 years. So, I think the potential is just enormous.
Well, something we touched on at the beginning of the interview a bit, and this is much more art than science in terms of looking back and seeing what's happened in the past. When the uranium price does indeed start to move, whether it's this year or in 3 years, what kind of action do you anticipate in these stocks? And a lot of that is going to be a factor of just how few vehicles there are for so many investors rushing into the space to purchase.
Well, you see, if you simply look at let's say the most conservative uranium stock, or the biggest one, Cameco, if you look at the chart going back 20 years, from 2000 to 2008, the stock went up 2,000%. And then we had the correction. It came down about 70%, and then we had another rise of the stock price of 160% until Fukushima happened. So if you look back, we had several corrections in the past 20 years. One was 79%, one was 71%. Now we are down 60%. On the other side, you see the potential these stocks had in the past when the uranium price started rising from 1992 to 96. The price of Cameco went up almost 500%, as I said before, until 2008. After the correction, it went up 2,000%, and until Fukushima happened, it went up 160%. So this is the potential for the very conservative ones. But other ones, the smaller ones, can easily go up 5 times or 10 times as they did in the past.
Yeah, it's truly an epic move in the uranium space when these stocks do go, and it feels like ages ago the last time we had a significant move, but that'll certainly come again, or at least I believe so, and you believe so. I want to point all of our listeners to your website for more information. The website is timeless-funds.com. Peter, anything else to add for our listeners at this point?
Well, you see, we are very hot about uranium, but obviously we also like a lot precious metals. And in an interview I recently heard, somebody asked the guy, what do you prefer, uranium or gold? And he said, I have 3 children, and it's like asking me which one do you prefer. So I would say uranium is very hot, but gold and precious metals are also very hot.
Yeah, well, thanks for that analogy. It makes a lot of sense, and we might see many of these commodities move in tandem if we get a bull market here. So it should be exciting times for all of your funds, Peter.
Yeah, I hope so.
Peter, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Think you understand the junior mining sector, and you think that the participants in the mining sector, junior mining sector, are good people and kind people, hit the bid.
And the world is always going to need raw materials. It's going to need copper and gold and nickel and so forth.
Totally destabilized. Hey, troll, did you hear what's going on in Yemen? Or are you too stupid?